thanks once again, everybody, for coming. This is actually a very special occasion for us because this year has been for everybody a real topsy-turvy year. We came out the day before lockdown and we stayed down in the farmhouse, which we renovated last year. And it was a really quite novel living out here. We'd never spent, I think, more than 2 or 3 nights at a time at the farm, let alone here, which we slept in this. We've owned this farm for 10 years and we slept for the very first time here 9 years ago. Having been at Kingfisher for quite some time, we just decided that this was going to be our new home. During lockdown, we decided that we really didn't need to own a home in Johannesburg. So, so we decided to sell it, and it was transferred on Friday. So we no longer have a house in Joburg. Being out here also was the ideal time to do a lot of odd jobs and things like that. And it was ideal for my dear wife, Chris, to get on with writing the particular book she was writing. So this book probably has come out maybe even a year earlier than it might have if we'd continued without COVID and all that in Johannesburg. I am full of admiration for my wife in terms of how she has, over the many years, written these books. She is a channel, a universal channel, and I can still recall sometimes back in Johannesburg in the first house that we stayed in together, we'd be working down together and she'd be typing away furiously there, and then she'd stop and she'd say, "Come, let's read this thing together. I'm going to read it for the first time as well." She has put so many hours and so much time and everything into her books, and particularly the one that came out a year and a half ago, which was a bestseller, Hot-Footing It to Health, and now we have book number 9. This is the second book that she is self-publishing because Hodder and Stoughton in London, who did the first 7 books, said they didn't want her to do an e-book, and they released her from the contract. So number 8 in this one is now self-published, and she has confidently gone forward with a fantastic editor, Philippa, a really good illustrator, Greg for the cover and that, and of course with our 2 very relatively new friends, Naomi and Dave, who have been fantastic in what they've done. They did a video together for Kingfisher Farm, but I think it's time now to introduce you once again to my wonderful wife, Chris, who has done a great job with this book. Thank you.
Thank you. As John said, I am a channel for the universal information. This is not my information, and I'm going all goosey. And I share it with love. I've shared it worldwide for 30 years. I do not copyright, I do not franchise. I would have been a multi-millionairess by now. Actually, I'd be more than that. But I decided that I had far more fun traveling the world, meeting people, having experiences. So when I first stumbled into feet many, many years ago, I thought, okay, they're cool. But having been in the medical world for 10 years and people saying, oh, the body is reflected on the feet, going, really? And all these little circles, and I'm going, oh, no, this is not working for me. So I was actually going to have nothing at all to do with feet. I was a skeptic of note. Don't even ask me to look at a foot. That was many years ago. And the universe said, you're going to be traveling the world and sharing this information. And I have been so blessed. I have been going to places and presenting in yacht clubs, in pubs that have been used the night before and we had to clean it out and so on. The experiences I've had have been phenomenal, and the people I've met have been amazing. And it's been thanks to my organizers, and I have over 60 organizers over the years, who just get the people together, find a venue, and I just turn up with the charts. And it made my life really easy. So how these came about was that I didn't want to stand there every time, because I was moving from one venue to the next to the next. I would be up to 5 to 6 venues on a continent. So I didn't want to go and stand every time and draw a foot and say this was this and so on and so forth. So they started off incredibly simple, just outlines of feet with the words and saying what they were. Then I got bored. and I thought they must be getting bored because this is really boring stuff. So I decided to make them a little bit more interesting. And in time, they became quite fun. Some of them aren't as good as the others simply because I was rushing because I had a plane to catch or something, and I was literally doing them for the last minute. Others were spent more time, and Naomi has been the one who's put it together. This book has been a challenge deluxe, but let me go back to just now. So how I used to travel was with this on my, this is a light one. I made it easy for myself today. I used to go through airports like this, and the comments were so funny. And they just go, look at that old lady. I wonder if she does yoga. I wonder why she's going camping. Why is she taking her things with her? Why does she need to take her chair with her? The comments were absolutely priceless. Anyway, in the meantime, I had all my charts rolled up in here. And there was such an easy way to go from venue to venue. I would roll them up, get on the plane, and go to the next venue, unroll them, present, roll them up, and so on and so forth. So in time, what actually happened, as I say, these charts evolved, and I channeled through, and they have been my constant travel companions. I don't care if I haven't got my suitcase, as long as I've got my charts, because then I can actually present the information. So they are my cue cards, as I say, and my travel companions. So how did they all come about, the books? Well, as I said, I was a skeptic. So the books, when Judy Finch said to me many, many years ago, she said, you'll be writing books. Now, I'd only just stepped into reflexology, and I'm going, but what about? I mean, I don't know what I'm going to write about. She said, you'll be writing a series of books, and I'm going, you're right. And now, of course, the 9th book, and I've got another 3 on the go. So this, All in the Feet, was the latest one. Now, as you can see, I've also, as I've gone around the world, used various things to hang. Because you say, okay, I'd like a white flip chart. You haven't any idea how different white flip charts are around the world. And some have hooks and don't have hooks and so on. So I've been using coat hangers, sellotape, clothes pegs, you name it, I've tried everything. To just, even trestle tables on the side. Life is an adventure. You know, why have it easy when you can have a bit of a challenge on the way? So this book, I decided, was All in the Feet. It's a very similar diagram to Hot Footing It to Health. And the people complained that there weren't any pictures in Hot Footing to Health. It wasn't meant to have pictures. So this is full of pictures. So what I'm going to share with you, the whole idea when I did these charts was that people had their own story. You know, none of us are the same, thank goodness. And we've all had incredibly different experiences. I was brought up in Kenya. I had a fantastic childhood, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro just for the fun of it, Mount Kenya for the fun of it. And that was the sort of life I had. Not many people have that sort of upbringing. So I was very privileged. My mum was the secretary to the governor of Kenya. My dad was a very well-known businessman. And I was just a hooligan. And I love being a hooligan. So again, when I travel the world, I realize how different our cultures are, number one, but basically we are the same. We're all human. There's some aspect, because people say, what about people in China? What about people in Japan? They have feelings. They think. They do exactly what we do. But their stories are different. Now, when we go to a doctor, he wants to have our medical history. The word history, high story. I love looking at words and seeing what else they are saying to us. And so high story is getting the story for myself. Now when I look at feet and read feet, because they are amazing, that they have everything that has left an impression on the soul is reflected onto the souls. So they're absolutely fantastic. But I don't know the story, but I use the feet as clues as to what are the questions to ask, what are going to be pertinent to this person. And these charts are also, because some of my groups can be pretty large, is to help the person find their own story. So you'll find in the book that there's no, this is how you do it, and you've got to do this, and this is right, and this is wrong. Shakespeare said all those years ago, nothing is good, nothing is bad, only thinking maketh it so. So when I decided to do the book, I took all the originals out because I needed to sort them. And then we decided, as John said, to sell the house in Rivonia. And the estate agent said to me, put all your valuables away. Now guess what my valuables were? Straight away, all the charts were rolled up and put in an African bag and put into a cellar, which was our storeroom. No problem. Then we had an African storm. And then, of course, what happened was the roof fell in. And where did the water go, I wonder? Right into the bag that I hadn't zipped, because I didn't expect anything like that. So you'll see how much some of the charts were actually damaged. And that is why I had to have my beautiful Naomi, who's running around, to start sorting them out. So we had planned, just before lockdown, that Naomi would come, take pictures of all these, and then she would do them up and make them look, presentable again. So what happened? Lockdown happened. And so what was the first thing in the car again? The charts. So Naomi's going to come around, and then lockdown came, and then we rushed out here with 2 loads of car loads, and I had a whole lot of scanned charts on discs. What did I do? I left them behind. So Belinda, my neighbour, I said, Belinda, help! I think I left them outside under the cushion. And she found them. So I was all that lockdown without those particular scans. Then we had a few challenges with the internet here. So when I was editing, I'd wake up, and I love Philippa, my editor. She works in the night time, and boy does she get me going at night time as well. 3 o'clock in the morning, she's sending messages and so on. But it's great because that's a time when you get a lot of writing done. So I was doing my editing, and guess what? It wasn't being saved because we had no signal. So now I was losing I'm not doing this book, I am not touching this book anymore. And then them upstairs say, ha ha ha. And then they said, carry on, carry on. Now these are the originals that I managed to save, so you'll see some watermarks on them. I've got over 1,000 charts, and my next book will have a next lot of charts. So really the whole idea of these charts is, say, for people to make up their own story based on their experiences. But we come into this world, we're given the gift of life, and it's up to us to make the most of it. We write our own scripts, we act out our own emotions, we do everything ourselves. The thing the universe is interested in is when you get to the end of our lives and say, oh, I had a great time, are people going to say, they could have done so much more with their life? Or are they going to say, wow, they lived the best of life. I mean, what an amazing adventure their life was. What are people actually going to say when we leave here? So for me, I see it, we have this universal spotlight. Every cell in our body is the audience of our life. They are participating in our life. So they are picking up our energy, our thoughts, our feelings, etc. And they are acting and reacting the same way as we are. So whatever we do, our cells do. So we whinge, they whinge, etc., etc. This is Fred. He travelled the whole world with me several times, and he got very, very wet. So he has been washed out quite a lot, but he's great in so much that he helped me to share with people how our thoughts obviously are the seeds of our body, and how our hands and our feet help us to put our thoughts into actions. Now, bearing in mind that I'm talking mainly to people who are practitioners, they obviously need to understand when somebody comes and says, I've got a hand pain or I've got a foot pain. What is the story? Where is it coming from? It's our thoughts. How are we handling our thoughts? How are we getting ahead with our thoughts? Then our expressive areas is our neck and our shoulder. As you can see, when we get anxious, we tend to do this, particularly with all the shoulds, when we should have, shouldn't do, and so on and so forth. And those are also reflected in the wrists and the ankles. So people with wrist and ankle issues are very much, I should have done, or I shouldn't have done, or they should do, or they shouldn't do. No right, no wrong. This is particularly for understanding. And interesting enough, our feet are underneath us and we stand on them, and they give us incredible understanding. Then we have, when we are going through stuff, I've done it a bit today, breathing. And that breathing, of course, is linked to our emotions and our eyes. Whatever we see affects how we breathe. Oh, look at that amazing scene. oh, look, Mrs. Brown's coming, I don't want to see her. And see how it affects our breath straight away. And also it affects the lower arm and the lower half of the lower legs. So then we've got the digestive area, the upper digestive tract, and that is all to do with what we are doing. That's why people can't stomach things sometimes. I can't stomach, kiddies say, I have a headache in my stomach. But in fact, it's they're picking up their mother. Her mother's not coping. And any aching in the body is aching to get ahead, move on. So headaches, for example, aching to get ahead, as I say, in the stomach, aching to get on and do things maybe differently. I don't know, it's the individual story. They have to fill in the blanks. Then we have the lower digestive tract, the colon, which is very much to do with the give and take in our relationships and communications. So, and that's very much to do with water. So each has got colours, each has got elements. And then finally we have our jawline and the pelvic area, which is all to do with family and security. Now these are also linked to toes, which makes it quite interesting. So Fred has a lot more to say, but that's just in a nutshell. And we've heard so much about the virus. The thing is, nobody and nothing can harm us unless we allow them to do. And the things that really affect us the most, fear. Fear is the one thing that will lower the immunity straight away. It makes us vulnerable. It's also our beliefs systems and our memories. Those are the three things that make us sick. And when we can stop blaming the outside world, which I'll talk about just now, and go within ourselves and realize what we are doing to ourselves and what has been done by the media to create this incredible fear to make people helpless, then we can start saying, okay, what can I do about it? And I have a lovely friend on the other side, Kath, and she used to say, feel easy and relax. Fear. Feel easy and relax. It is so empowering just to say that every time we are fearful, because as you can see, fear brings out so much of the worst within us. We are all capable of it, and the great thing is we chose to be human. And in choosing to be human, we also chose to go through amazing life experiences and learn more about getting better about ourselves. So we can go from being a beautiful person to being an absolute horrible person. We're all capable of that. Hello, Zanzi. So basically, again, fear is one of the things that really traumatizes the body. Because remember, the cells are reacting according to what we feed it. So a lot of people fear dis-ease. Dis-ease is uneasiness within that comes from, again, these fears, these belief systems, and it really needs to be treated better. When we understand what we are doing to ourselves and causing the disease, then we can find the solution. If we're always looking outside, we'll never find it. So be nice to your body. And when it's unhappy, listen to it. And we have choices. We can either succumb and be a victim and make our life a misery, or we can overcome it and become the victor. Won't go into that anymore, but it's a choice that we all have. And then what's the problem? We have a lot of allergies on this planet. And when it comes to allergies or dis-ease, what is the problem? Is it the thought of something? Because that's going to affect the head and the hands and the feet. Is it the smell of something? That's going to affect the digestive tract. Is it the sight of something? Affect the chest area, and so on. So can you see how our senses are now feeding the body, and it's also feeding the ease and the dis-ease. So it's up to us to work it out. And of course, we think on our feet. Unfortunately, Philippa, the editor, and Greg, who John mentioned, the guy who did the fantastic cover, couldn't be here, but Belinda let them into our empty home about 2 weeks ago, and they were filmed in the garden saying what they say.
Hey Chris, I'm so sorry that we couldn't be at your official launch, but I hope that this makes up for it. I'm just wanting to congratulate you on the birth of your latest book, baby.
Can I have a turn? Yeah?
Did Chris, I not say enough?
No, we'll come back to you. I hope I did justice to you, to your charts that have come to fruition over like decades. Love you lots. You know, you, me, Philippa, the universe, just wish we could be there.
Yeah, I really wish we could be there.
So Naomi, this lady really put up with a lot. Yeah. And she's going to just give you her insights. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It has been an incredible privilege and pleasure to assist Chris in my portion of the book, which was really to take her scanned images and edit those, which I did on Photoshop. We do photography and video. And it was a particular pleasure because it happened during lockdown. And so, as I've shared with Chris, I know it was quite topsy-turvy for you, but actually for me, it was an incredibly peaceful period because I spent many, many hours and days and weeks editing these beautiful charts. And it was actually such a gorgeous experience because, as you can see, there's so much in every one that obviously Chris hasn't had time to share now, but she does in her book. And it was like being steeped in this universal wisdom and beauty and fun and funkiness, because there's so much humor, in each of these also. So that was my experience for weeks during hard lockdown, was just joy, actually. And so, Chris, thank you. So I said I wasn't going to cry, but it does make me quite emotional. And so I would just like to say to each of you, if you haven't yet read Chris's book, do yourselves a favor, because it's such a special journey into finding out more about ourselves and really getting in touch with ourselves and being inspired by how we can live more fully with greater well-being and greater joy. So thank you, Chris. It's just such a blessing to the world. She is. So thank you. Thanks, darling.
Thank you. Thank you. But I also wanted, before I do that, I want to say thank you very much to my husband, who's so patient, because I have to say I'm not the nicest person when I'm writing. Go away. I'm writing, I'm busy, go away. And he's been so patient, and all the people, my beautiful tribal family, the neighbors, and the neighbors here, the neighbors there, that were, and your beautiful friends. You're all part of my journey, and you make it possible for me. It's all the people in our lives, isn't it? Oh, I love you, you're crying. But thank you so much for being here today and sharing this with us. And I hope you enjoy the books. You've all got a copy, I hope, now. If you haven't, just come and see me afterwards. That sounds like a really sort of official thing. And thank you. Just enjoy yourselves. And I want to thank Liza, who's been here since 5. It felt like 5 o'clock this morning. In the kitchen. And everybody who put hands on deck to get the food ready at time. And my beautiful son, where is he? I'm trying to find him. He's hiding away. Who is an absolute rock.
Scott and Hilton did the Bloody Marys, if anybody wants to.
That's why we're smiling so much.
They're the ones who did the drinks. Thank you guys so very much. I said all hands on it. But my son, he's amazing. He came in from England just before the second lockdown, which was fantastic. And he's always been such a support to me. As I say, he's my rock. He'll come up and give me a big hug every time he sees the good. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day with us. Thank you, Dave.